Yes, yes, team. Welcome to another episode of the Total Mental Performance Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have our very own TMP client and superstar, Ciara Rossi. She absolutely brought the house down in our client event in Manchester in front of 120 high performance coaches. She just delivered a story that was so inspiring. Like all of us in the room, I don't know if you realize you did that. All of us in the room were like gripped. It was incredible. And she's an incredible leader. She's a coach. She's an entrepreneur. And there's more than meets the eye to Ciara. And I say this with love, but I had quite a few people in the audience say, yeah, like when you see her on Instagram, like, you know, she's good at what she does, but there's so much depth that you just don't even get to realize. And I've obviously always known that. So Ciara, welcome to the Total Mental Performance Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I feel like we've been trying to do this a long time.
Yeah.
And it's nice now to be in this new studio in Dubai. It sometimes feels surreal to even be in Dubai and recording stuff like this. And for that intro like that, it really does put into perspective how far I actually have come, because I remember doing my first actual podcast here about a year and a half ago, and I was like, oh my God, how do we even start this? Where do I go? I was like fixing myself. I needed to have a little look. Like I came in here today and I was like, I don't need the script. I don't need to think. We're just going to talk about the journey. And I think that kind of for me shows how far I've come, and I'm excited to share now how my story has kind of started and where I am today.
Yeah, it's very cool. A quick shout out to Podster. Podster, when they first opened the studio here in Dubai, they had like this little cupboard over in the BBC studios, and they've now grown. They've got now 2 studios, technically got 4 setups in here. Incredible guys. A quick shout out to them. Whenever you see these ones that are shot in Dubai, this is where they're shot. But where actually is home for you? Like where's your hometown?
Dublin.
And is
Ireland.
it central Dublin or is it?
Yeah, central Dublin, literally right beside the airport, near the sea, kind of in between both. But I'm literally like 5-10 minutes from Dublin airport, so I'm like bang in the middle.
Wow. And what's that transition like from Dublin to Dubai?
Oh my God, I was such a homebird before I actually even stepped outside of like Dublin and coming here to Dubai. Like at the start, I didn't really know whether I liked Dubai. I didn't really know whether it was for me. But I think like no matter where I am in the world, and this is the most kind of powerful thing for me, that no matter where I am, I can be at home in my cabin working away and I'm happy, or I can be here in Dubai and it's a bonus and it's my environment and everything around me. But it's 2 totally different worlds for sure. But I'm definitely here for the foreseeable for sure.
Okay, so let's take us back to Dublin. So growing up, what's the context we need to know about Ciara as a kid that's led on to this ambition, this fire, and the thing that you're building now?
So I suppose for me, my mum was a single parent. My dad left when we were about 10 or 11, just when we were about to start secondary school. And just before that, growing up, it was something I never really shared. I didn't really feel like I had to. Coming from my mum and where she's at, she's like, you don't need to be talking about stuff like that. We were always kind of bypassed where you came from, but it is what shapes you, and it is the reason why I am who I am today. So my mum is a superwoman. Like she is the queen bee. Like I just love her so much, and everything she's done for us, myself, my brother, it's only the 2 of us. We're both business heads now. We're striving for so much in life, and he's taken so much from me. But from little Ciara Rossi, that was an Irish dancer, that just competed. I worked in Tesco. I had a job. I went to a really nice secondary school. My mum done everything for us. That we were very grateful for whatever we had and where we came from. And I think I always knew that there was a little bit more there, and I always felt like I had to prove something to the world. And from working with Kate, like I absolutely love Kate. Like I signed back up. I finished my TMP journey, and then I was like, I need this again, because it's such a big part of my life. And I done the business mentoring, I done the coaches. I had someone there for nearly every sector of my life. But the one thing I was actually neglecting was me as a person. And like that was something that was like, I never even touched on anything like that. I would have never even mentioned my dad. He wasn't even in the equation when anyone asked. It was just me, my mum and Owen. We were like the 3 musketeers. It was just us. And for me, like anyone that is from Dublin, I'm not saying everyone, but at home, when you're from such a small community and a small area, your mind is quite shallow. Like you don't really see outside of the box, outside of the area, outside of the negativity that goes on. And from like with me, I was just like, there has to be more to this. Like I'm on to do something big with my life, with my journey, and I suppose that's kind of who I am and how I'm shaped here today.
Yeah. Wow. And those are the moments that we often gloss over. Oh, it's fine. Like, I didn't have it that bad. It's cool. But that is where individuals are made. They're made in childhood, overcoming adversity. And I think kids get messages that they're not enough or they can't do things. And they go one of two routes. One is, you're right. I'm not going to try. And they give up before they've even started. Whereas the clients that we work with, they went the opposite way. Fuck you. I'm going to prove you wrong. And they build on darkness. And there's nothing wrong with building on darkness when you're starting out. Like, it's a good thing. But there comes a point where that actually holds you back. And you've done a great job at overcoming that adversity in order to get here. And yeah, shout out to Dr. Kate Blackford in our coaching team. She's an absolute superstar. Lots of love, time and attention for her. So if we look at that to what you're doing now, for those that don't know, run us through the projects that you're working on today.
So when I started about a year ago coming out to Dubai, it was just me. I didn't have a team. I now have a team of I think it's 8 people, and we have 3 coaches. We've got a sales team. I have taken myself massively back out of everything. And that was very hard to do because I was like, I'll get to the top by myself. I don't need no one. Like, I can do all of this. You haven't got a clue about what goes on in a business. And I don't think anyone that is starting up a business, just know that like you cannot do it by yourself. You can't get to the top by yourself. It's like my journey. I wouldn't never have got here without you guys, because like that really unlocked something inside of me that I can never even explain it. I can't explain it. It's like I just became this woman, and I was like, who is this person? Because I was always, I don't know, I can't even put my finger on or put a word on it as to how I've blossomed into, but it was definitely from the deep work. But running 2 businesses, it's super hard. It's a lot of demand, but I wouldn't change it for the world. We've got a lot of obviously launches coming up with Rossi Apparel. I now have a team coming in and helping me with the apparel, because my focus, I love the apparel, but my main focus is these women, is this community that I'm building. It's the impact that I have. I just get I get more of a connection and a feel-good feeling from what I do in the Fit Coach Rossi aspect in comparison to, say, the Rossi Apparel. Now, I do love that, and that will be my full-time venture, possibly down the line. But right now, I'm like, I love it, but I don't love it enough, and I'm not giving it 100%. So I brought people in to help me on that side. So that's kind of where I'm at the minute, living out here in Dubai. And yeah, we've just boomed. Everything is absolutely flying, and things are just going up all the time. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And it's really important as an entrepreneur that you lean into, particularly if you're a coaching entrepreneur. There are some entrepreneurs that are like, I just want to get paid. Like, I could sell tables, no problem. I'll shift as many tables as I want. But our entrepreneurs and our coaches aren't like that. They need an element of meaning and purpose and connection. Otherwise, what's the point? So it's really great to hear you going, right, you know what, it's the community aspect that really lights me up and lights up my soul, and I'm going to dive into that and go and make that happen. And, you know, the apparel is an offshoot of that.
Exactly.
That's always going to grow, because that's, if you think about the best brands in the world, like if we look at, say, Lululemon, and this is me coming from my software sales background, I used to sell into all of the big brands. If we look at Lululemon, what do? The thing that they did that was so unique is they started running yoga classes in their store for the community. So they built the community. They'd bring everyone into their stores. They'd have these experiences where they're connecting with other women and they're all doing their yoga. And then they look around and they go, oh, that's really cute. I'll have that.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden they're a brand ambassador and they're speaking on behalf of Lululemon, which is essentially what you're doing. You're creating incredible results in that community. And they're so proud of it. Then the apparel side is an extension of that, of them saying, I want to show this is what I'm about. I want to share that. That's where it is. So it's really amazing to see you go into that.
Thank you.
I remember it must have been over a year ago now. I spoke at the coach convention over in Manchester in a big church. Shout out to Ben Hawksworth, good friend of TMP, client. I've now hired Ben to come take over all of our marketing strategy. Just an amazing dude.
Yes.
And I remember after the talk, we had a little TMP stand on the side. And then you run straight over and you looked me in the eyes and you went, right, how does it work then? And what do you mean? He was like, so I want to do this. I don't know what it is. I want in. What do I do? And I said, okay, scan that QR code on here, and I'll make sure it's either me or a member of the team gets in touch. Within 24 hours, you'd send it over. Boom, you were in. Next thing you know, you're on a call with, I think it was Kate initially, right? When I spoke to Kate, and then boom, yep, I'm in, done, dusted, let's do it. And I think that's a testament to your ability to weigh things up and go, right, it's either going to work or it's going to not. And you've proved or disproved whether something's going to work for you so much faster than other people that would have deliberated for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. If I look at you and some of the success that you've had, one thing you've got is speed.
Yeah.
And speed kills in a good way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you put the nail on the head there. For me, like, I'm an action taker. I think about it, and if I get a good feeling about it, I'm like, I don't look at like the downsides. I'm like, well, that could happen, because my mom has always been like, this is where it comes from. She's like, Ciara, like, you can have all the money in the world and you might not be happy. Go for everything. If you lose, you lose. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going for this. So I remember sitting there, one of my coaches came over with me and she was sitting, and I remember the stand was over to the right and I was sitting here and I was like, I'm signing myself up for that. And she was like, what is it like? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, but I'm going for it. I remember within that week, I was signed up, I was ready to go. And I think for anyone that is sitting on the fence and wondering like what these guys do, if you're at a point where you just feel like you can't push past some emotional things in your life, in your business, you will be stagnant for a long time if you do not go for it and if you don't take that risk. And I think sometimes the main thing that holds people back is themselves and these things that they're like, I don't need to look at that right now, because that was me. And I remember saying to myself, like, I don't need to touch any of that stuff. Like, I'm running a business that doesn't even come into it. Like, I think, what did you say? You said, if you can't have... it was something to do with emotional stability, you won't have your business, or something on the lines of that statement that you said at the event. And I was like, yeah, I need that, because I knew when you were speaking that there was something inside of me that wasn't fully there. I knew. I was like, what is going on inside of me right now? I was like, there's something just not clicking with how fast of the pace that I'm going. What is it? Because I've got the mentor, I've got the coach, I'm feeling great in my body, I'm feeling good, but there's something there that's just like holding me back that little bit more. And that was like the click, that was like the stepping stone into like this new era for me.
Deep down you knew there was more,
I
but
knew
you
there
just
was more.
didn't know how to unlock that.
Yeah, I was always scared of sharing my story. That's why when you said to me today, is there anything that like you don't want to talk about? And I appreciate that you've said that to me. But for me, no, because I'm an open book. I am black or white, and if you see me, this is who I am. Like, I don't put any filter on. I'm truly authentically me.
Yeah. And was you always like that?
No. No, I used to ask for, oh my God, I was a nightmare. I used to ask for every single opinion, like, what do you think I should do? I used to ring my mom when I was getting a coffee and I'd be like, will I get this one or this one? And she's like, Ciara, make that decision yourself. And I could never, I always had a fear of like, I wonder if I post this up, will people think that's a bit much? I only stopped that last year.
Yeah.
Not even like, I'll probably lie, like about 6 months ago. Yeah. I used to say to Jade, I used to say, will I, won't I? And she's like, Ciara, yeah. And I'm like, are you sure that's not a bit much? And now I'm like, that's not a bit much, that's me. And if I feel great and if my body looks good, yeah, I'm going to share it because I feel good. That's not about how you're feeling. And because the majority of the time when you are feeling like that, or when you're thinking, what are they going to say? Or if people do say anything, it's normally because it comes back down to them.
Yes is a great, no's are good, but it's the maybes that kill us. And the more time you spend in maybe land, the more cognitive and emotional energy that you're just burning up again and again and again. So for you to go from somebody that's always in maybe land, should I, to go to, yep, in, nope, out.
Yeah.
That accelerates momentum. And there's loads of things that build up the areas that hold you back from that. Limiting beliefs. Can I really pull this off? What if I make the wrong decision? What if? Sometimes life experiences, like we can have some pretty traumatic experiences, and every human being is a combination of their genetics and also of their upbringing. So when you put those together, like some people are more emotionally sensitive than others. So that can hold them back as well. And it's learning to break through the self-imposed limitations as to what we can achieve And then also just having that backing and that reassurance. Like the amount of leaders that I see, like leadership is lonely. Leadership's a lonely pursuit. You're spending a lot of time by yourself. No one understands your entire position. No one's taking the risk. They might think they are, but no, you're the one making the decisions, making the risk. So having people in your corner that can hold up a mirror to your thinking and your feeling, well, hang on, is that genuinely what's happening here? Or are we getting out of control a little bit? Are we getting stuck in the same patterns? And also reassurance, like we all need it. I still have mentors in my corner that I go back into the darkness and I go, I need some help. If you was in my shoes, what would you do? And we all need that. And that will enable you to go faster. Whereas trying to do it on your own or trying to operate out of fear will put the brakes on your momentum. So for you, you've got been able to prove or disprove things really quick.
Yeah, and
really,
I think
really quick.
When you put the whole, when you said just there about taking your foot off and having to go full steam ahead, like I still think sometimes, for myself, like I'm not fully healed. And I don't think any of us ever will be. And I do have moments, people say, like, you just keep going, like, you just keep going and going and going. As you said, leadership is it is very lonely. And I'm at a point right now that I don't think I would have even got here if I didn't do the inner work. Because you can have the business, you can have the systems, you can have all of that, but if you don't have yourself, like, I'm at a point right now where I've left kind of the group that I have been with, and I'm in the middle of like this phase where I'm really by myself. And people are like, oh my God, like you're up in that apartment all the time by yourself. Like Josh is at home. And every time I put up a question box, people wonder like, why am I in Dubai by myself? And I don't need to explain that to anyone. But for anyone that is wondering why I am here by myself right now, when you have a goal and when you have a vision and someone understands where you're going with things and what you need to do, and I need to be here right now and I need to get my shit done, he understands and he knows, and we still have the connection and the love. And I think people think if I'm not with my partner, we'll then forget about it. We're both on two different pages. And for me, I'm so focused right now on building this life and this person for myself that I just needed a little bit of time after the summer months. I can say hand on heart, I wasn't in a very good place for a couple of weeks, that I was just so scattered and everything was going so fast. So sometimes it is very hard to keep up for one person. I do try my best, but it does hit you. And that's why I have you guys there to fall back on and say like, help, like what will I do? And then I have a coping mechanism, whereas if I didn't, I don't know what way it would be. But I did take that decision in September to say I'm coming here with or without, and I'm doing this for me. And I've been in solitude like for the last like couple of weeks, 8-9 weeks by myself. My mom came 1 week, Josh came another week, and other than that I've been like really doing some deep work. Like I've been really meditating every morning, every night. I've been taking some time without my phone, trying to do the whole thing until 1 o'clock. That doesn't really work for me, that you said. But
so you switching your phone off until
trying. Oh, it's too hard for me. I'm trying, but I'm at a point right now where I feel in a good way, like without sounding cocky or anything, I feel really powerful. Like I feel me, like I just know who I am and I know what the standard is of who and the people I want in my life. And I don't think I would have ever been able to decide that for the person that couldn't decide on what coffee to have. To knowing who she is, like that for me is just, that's free. That's freedom.
Yeah. And you mentioned a good point around you can have all of the stuff and it still doesn't click. I wrote about this on my story yesterday. You're enough without the stuff, but until you get to that place and you're always chasing external, it gets really, really difficult. And something I see a lot with coaches and entrepreneurs is they lack fulfillment. They lack fulfillment in what they're doing. So sure, on the outside, things are going well. Like, yes, the spreadsheets look great with all the numbers in them and all the results are happening, but deep down they feel a little bit lost. They feel a little bit like, oh my God, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I pushing so hard? And that's when you make that shift from, oh, hang on, I'm not going to be happy or validated through anything that I do in the outside world. It's in my inner world. It's inside of what's happening in my head, my heart, my gut, my soul. And that's the thing. And when you start to change your internal world, the whole outside happens. I can't remember the guy who said it. Les Brown. He's a motivational speaker. I went to go see him when I was 17. He's speaking in London. And he said, if you can conquer the enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. That was an African proverb. And I think it's true because most of our suffering happens in our minds. Most of our suffering happens inside, and it doesn't actually happen. The things we're worried about, what if, none of them actually happen. So we spend so much time, energy, and bandwidth in what we think is going to happen or what other people think versus going where you've gone, which is, well, no, hang on, I'm aligned. I know what I want. I know where I'm at. So I'm going to go in all after it. Another thing that, I don't know if you ever watched, do you ever watch Dragon's Den?
Yeah, I don't really, but I've seen a few episodes.
So Dragon's Den, for those that are listening, perhaps in America, is like Shark Tank. And I had a guy called Peter Jones. He was my mentor. So he set up a school where you could run a business. They'll assess you on pitching for investment, running the company, and they assess you all on that. There's no exams. And I was like, perfect. I was 16 at the time. I was the youngest guy on the course. And he talked a lot about timing. And this is an underrated thing in business, entrepreneurship, and leadership. And he said, sometimes you have the right entrepreneur, but you have the wrong business. Sometimes you have the right business, the right entrepreneur, but it's the wrong time. Certain businesses or certain products are further ahead than they need to be. What has that got to do with being a high-performance entrepreneur? Well, if we look at your timing for where you're at in life right now, you can take these risks and go into solitude and go, okay, let me do this. Let me go all in. Let me go and make this happen. Let me go and take some more risks. You don't have a family. You don't have dependents. You don't have kids. You can take those risks. So it's understanding, okay, well, where am I at in my life right now? What businesses am I working on right now? And actually, is the timing right? And for you recognized unconsciously, the timing's right. Now's the time for me to go and take these risks. Now's the time for me to go and be alone in Dubai and go and make that happen. And often it's the fear of judgment that will stop you from doing that. Because the fear of judgment would have kept you in Dublin.
For sure.
The fear of judgment would have stopped you from going all in. It would have stopped you from having this solitude.
Yeah.
But what you find is when you go after the things that you want out of abundance, out of love, out of this is where I'm at and this is where I generally are, if they're meant to be on your journey, they'll be there. And if they're not, they'll filter themselves out. And what you find is you go through this iteration and you look around, you're like, all these amazing people around me, I'm doing these amazing things, these amazing opportunities. Wow, it's all come together. And that's what I'm seeing here, which is great.
Love that, yeah. And just put it all together. That's exactly how it is. And I think change is scary for people. Change is like starting a new program, joining, say for example, TMP, you're like, what have I signed myself up for? Is this money going to be worth it? If you don't value your own mind and your own head, and we all have trauma and we all have things that we have gone through in the past and the way we kind of deal with things, but if you can handle things bang on the way I have, and like when something comes up, you don't crumble back down. It's like I can look at a solution and I know how to actually overcome this, even if it's going to be super hard. It's not the end of the world. Whereas if it was, it slows me down. It stops me completely in the tracks. Business isn't going anywhere. I've got a team that are relying on me. I can't do anything. But now it's like I can do all of these things. Like I know sometimes my girls, they wonder, they're like, here, I just don't get it. Like how do you do all of this? Like how do you manage? And I'm trying to pass on what I've learned to them, and I'm like, maybe this is why you're feeling like that. So it's an all round win. And as I said, change is scary, but what's scarier, living a life that you're having regrets and you're never going to be happy with, or becoming this person that you just never thought you would be?
I always learn stuff from clients. And I remember Keegan Hurst spoke at the TMP event. I remember in one of his one-to-one sessions with me, he turned around and he said, yeah, don't die wondering. And I was like, oh, do you realise what you just said? He goes, what? Don't die wondering? I said, there's an impact, and there's a beauty to that, because I've always been somebody, I've been quite lucky, I've always been somebody that's never died wondering. So when I did the Enterprise Academy, the Peter Jones thing, I graduated when I was 17. Then I went straight into software sales and sold $500,000 worth of software. And then all of a sudden I've got like a little bit of success, and I'm from a place where not many people have that. So all of a sudden I'm like, wow. And then I'm 18, 19, and I was like, I want to box the Olympics. And I'm like, my family are like, are you fucking mental? Yeah. Like, you're doing so well in your career. Like, you can't walk away from that. And I've always been somebody I don't want to die wondering. So I quit that job and I went after my Olympic dream. And I managed to work my way up the rankings, got onto the England team for the men's, but couldn't keep it, wasn't quite good enough. My mindset completely crumbled me. I was massively underweight. But I didn't die wondering. And some of you listening to this right now might be somebody that is wired that way. I don't die wondering, I go all in, cool. But for some of you, you're not like that. And you are wondering. And you are getting stuck. But let me tell you this. every time I thought, don't die wondering, and I went and took the risk and I went and did it, I never regretted it. I never, ever regretted it. And all of the lessons that came with that. Did I go and box the Olympics? No. Did I lose my place in the England team? Yeah. Did I end up with an eating disorder? Yeah. Anxiety, depression, not wanting to be here? Yeah. But all of that gave me all of the life experience, the knowledge, the wisdom that unlocked all of the doors as to what I'm doing today. So don't die wondering.
I love that. Really, really good. And never settle. Never, ever settle. I went to an event at the weekend and he left at the end and he just said, never settle for anything in life. If you have a little bit of a feeling in the back of your throat or even in your stomach, that feeling where you're like, I'm not really too sure, I don't really know if I like my job that much, you should love and you should be excited every single day waking up that what you're doing is this is what I love. This is what makes me jump out of the bed. This isn't what I hate every day, because I think we forget about how lucky we are and what we have right in front of us, and you never actually know what someone else is going through. But I think people see all the success. They see you living in Dubai. They see, well, you're able to afford these courses. You're able to do this. You're able to do that. But like, I never was able to do any of that. Little Ciara Rossi, you know, with big dreams. That was my thing. Like, I had a thing on my wall, little girl with big dreams.
Yeah.
And like, I've really kind of stepped into that kind of era now, and I've proved to myself. So I'm like, if you can prove to yourself that little bit of reassurance, I can do this, or like a little tick off of that box, I feel a little bit better today and I feel good, that's like your first stepping stone. And then you can just keep going and going and going. And one time you just build up and you're at the top and you're looking back down and you're like, I done that.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just like, yes.
It's the baby steps. It's understanding. People look at the destination too much. They're like, yeah, I want to have this lifestyle, or I want to have these things, I want to achieve these things. And then they get overwhelmed because it's so far away. When actually all you need to figure out is, like, what's the next step? So my dream was the Olympic gold medal. So I worked my way back. I was like, right, well, I need to win 3 qualification tournaments to qualify for the Olympics. Cool. How do I get to those? Well, to get to those ones, I need to get 3 bronzes at these tournaments. Okay, how do I get onto that? Well, first thing, I need to get onto Team GB. Well, how do I need to do that? Well, first of all, I need to get onto England. Okay, well, how do I do that? Well, first of all, you need to win the home county title, the Southern area title. You got to work your way up. And I just worked all my way back from my plan.
Yeah.
And then I went, right, first things first, I need to win my next fight.
Yeah.
So then you go, right, okay, let me train for my next fight. You win that one. Cool. Then I need to win the next fight. I train for that one. Cool. Then I win the next fight. I work my way up. And then if you just focus on the next step and those baby steps and you just execute, even when you don't feel like executing, and just going, right, I just need to find a way. And it might not work. You might reach a dead end. I reached a dead end. It was just about to break on the England team. I get the year contract and then I lose it all. That's okay, because that gave me the platform to go onto a different ladder to accelerate onto something else. And it's having that fearlessness of, if this doesn't work out, chances are I won't die, because we don't live in a life or death world, really. You're listening to the podcast, chances are you're not fighting in a war, you're not fighting in famine, you're not fighting in any of these things. You are trying to just live a better life. So if that's the case, then what are you afraid of? Like, we can really go and do some amazing, amazing things. And failure often isn't fatal.
No.
It often isn't fatal.
It shapes who you are. And I think everyone is so obsessed over perfectionism and doing everything right. I done nothing right. I had so many things that went wrong along the way that I didn't know. And perfectionism is a trait that you can have. But I do think, like, forget about next week or forget about this 1 week, 10 days, 2 weeks, month. Just focus on today. Just focus on those 3 things on your list that you need to do today. If you can mark them off, great, move on to the next day. But don't focus on, well, it's 2024 is coming. What do I need to achieve by the end of 2024? No. Why don't you talk about the first 4 months? Or wait, if you haven't even set goals before, why don't you talk about the first week? Or wait, if you really haven't even stuck to anything for a week, why don't you try 1 day? Yeah. Try 1 day getting out of the bed. Try not moaning about the weather. Try not complaining about how crappy the person in the job beside you is, because you never really know what someone else is going through. And I think if you take it with like the smallest of steps and then you get that little tick, then it's just the next thing. And all those small things that have happened to me along the way have built up to this massive, just like where I am right now.
Fearlessness to fail, like, is really important. The ability to go, you know what, I will fail. I will fuck things up, and that's okay, because I know out of my intentions I'm doing the best with what I have. I'm doing the things how I want to do them. And when you can have that, and then, to be fair, I've contradicted myself. Like, I don't like the word fearless, but courage, the ability to feel the fear and go, all right, well, I'm going to fuck things up. I'm not always going to get it right. And that's okay, because that's where the lessons are. And then it comes down to understanding that you have to get to a point where you're going to get hit with curveballs on that plan, where you think, this is the way, and it doesn't happen. But one killer question that changes the game for me whenever I get hit with a curveball in life is, what did I expect? Did I expect coaching a complex client to be easy? Did I expect scaling a company to be easy? Did I expect any part of my fitness journey to be easy? No. So when you have that frame, well, what did I expect? Whenever you get caught with something off guard, what did I expect? That just gives you that perspective of, there isn't actually an issue. It was just my expectation. I expected something to be a certain way and it wasn't. And as a result, I feel a little bit uncomfortable. But that question can cut through a hell of a lot of noise. And it's understanding that you're going to have wobbles en route. People often look at high performers and they think they don't have wobbles. They just seem to get it done. They're machines. They're just these high performance machines all the time. I'm guessing that they never get stuck on Instagram scrolling through their phone. I'm guessing they never ever get distracted or they procrastinate. Or I'm guessing they just must always be perfect all of the time. That's just not real life.
No, we're not robots.
No.
We are human beings with feelings. We just have kind of touched on those feelings a little bit more. We know ourselves on a deeper level. And if you haven't kind of got to know yourself on a deeper level, do it. People think it's airy-fairy and forget about your past. And a lot of older people, the older generation, like my nanny and stuff, she would have never touched on anything like this. Like, she would have said, I'd get on with it. I'm like, whoa, because she is tough as nails. Yeah. And I remember when my granddad passed away years ago when we were younger, I used to always, and still in my head, I always wondered, why is she not crying? Why is she not crying right now? I used to be like, my nanny is tough. And even to this day, anyone will tell you, she's tough. But it's the way she was brought up. So for my mum to come, obviously from my nana, she comes along and she's like, Ciara, you don't need to be dwelling on the past. And I'm like, no, Mum, I do. I do, actually. And she's like, but and I'm like, Mum, you don't want me to touch on that, do you? And she's like, I didn't think you remember that. And for me, that's why I never brought it up. I would never have done that. But there was a lot of things that had been coming up in my relationships, in past relationships, that trust was huge for me. It was huge. Even with a team, I couldn't trust anyone. Forget about hiring a team, because I don't trust the person sitting beside me. Everyone's a liar.
Where did that come from?
That comes from my dad. My dad lied. He was an alcoholic. He was a gambler. He lied about everything. And for me, having a relationship and always thinking in the back of my mind, I used to always wonder, why do I think like this? Why can't I trust anyone? But it comes back from your past. And that was a big thing for me. Like, I would have never had a team right now, ever, if I didn't trust them. I never used to even trust the girls to do the smallest of tasks. But when you trust and when you know these people aren't all out to do you harm, and that not everyone, it doesn't go like this. This isn't the way the story is wrote. Like, I used to say, this is the way it is. Even with like any past partners that I've had, I used to always say it was them. And now I look back and I can say, hand on heart, it was me. And that's hard to swallow, because everything in life happens for a reason. You meet these people along the way and things don't work out all for the best reasons when you think of it. And I think when I'm thinking of it now, like, I pointed the finger for a long time at people and it was me. I was the one that couldn't sit still at night. I was the one that couldn't even think straight. And you know what it was? It was an insecurity of me not feeling enough. I had to prove to everyone that this is who I am. You know, I'll go out and I'll do this now, and that's to prove you wrong, and now you'll see who you want. And it's like, it should never be that way. Like, you are enough as who you are.
But that's easy to say at this point of the journey, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to say. And I do believe that starting out, like, you've channeled that. You could have channeled that into loads of things. You could have become a party girl.
Oh, yeah.
You could have been dealing drugs. You could have been doing all sorts of crazy shit, like, if you wanted to. But you channeled that into, I'm going to have positive change and impact in the world. And sometimes you need that darkness from the past to use that to get started. But once you're past getting started, that's where it starts to actually destroy you and it holds you back. And it's so fascinating because we're a performance company. We don't do business coaching. We leave that to the experts.
Yeah.
But we look at the individual. And if you think about the thing that held you back, trust. I can't trust. Well, hang on. You want to build an empire. You're not here to sort of just build a small business. You're looking to build an empire. I want to build a massive coaching brand. I want to build a coaching apparel brand. Well, you can't do that on your own. So the next league and level is getting you to your place where you have the confidence and the backing, not of everyone else, but of yourself, to create a central nervous system that can handle that level of stress, because you're not fighting yourself anymore. And as a result, that is one of the things that can really blow up results in whatever it is that you're doing, is getting out of your own way, letting go and releasing and healing and going, you know what? That doesn't serve me anymore. I don't need that anymore. And to see that, because a lot of people go, hang on, how did they get from leadership to my dad leaving, and how that gets in? Everything has a root cause, and going into the root cause is the quickest way in order for you to move on to get to that next league and level. And because you operate with speed, you went, bring it on.
Yeah.
And that's not easy, but it's worth it.
I remember my first session with Kate, and she was like, this is hard to get through. Because I was not breaking. I was like, I don't need to talk about this. And I remember she was like, okay, like she's just amazing. I don't know how she got through to me, but she imagined me, she said to me, close your eyes. And I was like, yeah. She said, walk as if you're walking down. How old are you? Think of how old you are. What's this person wearing? You're going down to a campfire and everyone's sitting around. Who is there? What's going on? And the minute I got there, I was a 9-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
I was walking down in my dress with my Ellie shoes on. My hair was done the way my mum has it. This was this person that came to my head straight away. I could have thought of the person I am now and what I'm wearing. I thought of this little girl, and I was like, I remember this like feeling in my stomach of emotion coming over me, and I was like, don't like this.
Yeah.
She was like, just keep going with it. Keep your eyes closed. Just keep working with it. And I remember my eyes, I could feel my eyelids like shaking. And I was like, here, oh my God, like don't cry on this call, even though that's what I was probably there for, you know? And I got down, and all I seen was, all I could see was my dad and my mum fighting. And I could just see fire, and I could just see everything, a house burning down. It was just awful. And I just cried and cried and cried. And she was like, keep going, let it out. And when I let it out, I just like had this emotional release that I was like, hardly this thing from 10 years ago, 18 years ago was holding me back. And it was. That's what was the problem. I was the problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't anyone else around me. It was me. Like I was the one that was actually holding myself back.
I love the phrase because it's so basic but true. It's emotional baggage. And we're all holding on to emotional baggage in a number of different areas. And if you haven't opened up on that and you've been carrying that along, emotional baggage gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and to the point where it starts weighing us down and slowing us down. And if you're ambitious and you think there's another league, there's another level, you got to let go of the emotional baggage. And for you to then go and make those changes, it's a release. That word you use, release. It's, I don't need to operate and think and feel like this anymore. And that's where you take the baggage off. And the next thing you know, we see our clients, they go, they're off. And some clients, it can happen very, very quickly. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time. It's a little bit more, you got to go into the depths a lot in order to get there. But when those various different bags come off, we see our clients just fly.
Yeah, totally different person. 10 kg lighter.
Yeah,
and that's not even going to the gym, just mentally 10 kg lighter. But it's incredible when you do look at things like that in your life, and if you think that your trauma isn't hitting you and you're all good, you're probably not.
Well, we've got to look at culture, right? So my grandmother, my dad, and all their family are all from Northern Ireland, from Belfast, and they don't talk about their shit.
They're tough people.
They don't talk about their shit.
Yeah.
And I've seen a common theme in a lot of my ex is from Belfast.
Right.
She didn't talk about her shit. Like a lot of Irish people I've spoken to and I've met in my experiences, they don't talk about their shit. Instead, they drink.
Oh,
they go to the pub. They go, you know
we
what?
are
We'll just fucking,
partiers, just drink it back.
Yeah.
That's why I never fit in at home. I couldn't find a place where if you weren't going to go out and get slaughtered every weekend, then you were born. I would rather be born than feel like shit every Sunday, you know what I mean? And that's exactly what they do. They drink the sorrow away.
Yeah. And that's really sad.
Yeah, and that is the culture. It's a drinking thing, and like even at Christmas, like you're crazy if you're not going for a drink, or even at any time of the year, like you're mad not to have a drink. Whereas here, I go out with my friends here, the odd time here and there we go out, and they're like, if no one even asks me if I'm having a drink, no one even says,
yeah.
why are you not getting one? No one even questions
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I've never really thought about that because I'm the
No
same. I don't
one.
drink. Yeah.
No one questions me. Like I say, can I just get a Coke Zero at home? It's like everyone nearly falls off
Yeah,
their
yeah,
chair.
that's a good point. I never thought about that. I've never actually made that. I haven't really been out back home for a long time. But yeah, I know no one, like, it's just a normal thing. Yeah, I'll just have a
Coke Zero.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not drinking tonight. No, you don't even have to say that.
You don't. You just, that's just like, some people be drinking, some people won't be drinking, and like it's not even it's not even a thing.
No. And I remember I put up my story 2 weeks ago, and I said on the Sunday I had such a fresh Sunday. I was at home on Saturday night. I got myself into bed. We went out for Shanning's birthday. I had my meal. We had a dance, good music, and I got home into bed and I was like, I don't need to lose myself. I don't need to do that. I know who I am, and the majority of people, you go out to enjoy yourself. Some people like it, and that's, everyone is to their own, no judgment at all. But if you're going out to lose yourself and to just get a bit wild and then feel really bad come Sunday, Monday, you will be in that vicious circle for a while. And I remember at home, I used to get a lot of like, why are you not drinking? Why would you not have a drink? Like, would you not just have one? I'm like, this is a glass of water, right? This could be a vodka, this could be a gin and tonic, and what is the difference of the liquid in this glass, and why is it hurting you so much that I'm drinking water and I'm not drinking another coloured liquid? Why? Like, what is that?
I've done some journaling on this, and I've been kind of exploring like why. And I think there's two parts. There's culture and then there's emotions. So we look at the culture, like all my Irish family love to drink. My dad, if I ask him how are you, it's always, yeah, good. And then he'll have 2 or 3 beers, like, you know, on a Friday night, just sat in the kitchen, listening to the radio or whatever. I don't talk about their shit. So I think there's a culture and there's a stigma and there's a, you know, oh, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. I know when I speak to my Irish family, they're all like, we talk about feelings. My Spanish family, on the other hand, my mum's from Spain. Oh, they are so expressive. Oh, you know how
lovable.
Yeah, like they are like, does that annoy you? That makes you angry? Yeah, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
They're so I've had 2 very contrasting experiences with the culture that I've got, and then I was brought up in England. So make of that what you will when you put all of it together. But I think culture is a big part, and I think another part is I do believe that most human beings, particularly in today's day and age of the digital world, is I think everyone's very anxious. They're very on edge, and there's a lot of social anxiety. And if you think about the language, no, I'm just going to have a couple of drinks to loosen up. What if you were loose enough as you already walked in the door? Mm-hmm. What if you, like when it comes to alcohol, what if instead of having to have 2 drinks to loosen up, you just walked in and you were already loose, you were already calm, you're already confident. So I do think that alcohol can be a little bit of a crutch to help you feel safe and confident and relaxed in social situations. But when you realize, actually, I am enough, and I am calm, I am collected, you just take that crutch away. Again, that's one of the little performance hacks that can really start to gather a lot of momentum very quick.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what I've been pondering. I think everyone's just a bit anxious and a bit afraid, and that's alcohol kind of just brings everyone together. And then there comes a point. I see alcohol in like 3 levels. 1 or 2 because you genuinely like a drink. So I haven't had a drink in, I think, 14, 15 months. But I do like gin. I really do like gin. When I used to drink, I would go to a specific gin bar and ask them, right, what's this? Where's this? I love to drink.
Yeah.
But that's the first level. 1 or 2, cool. And the next level is actually, let's just sort of like get jovial. Let's have a laugh.
Feels good.
Yeah, like let's just throw that out there. And sometimes a good blowout is a good thing.
Yeah.
And then finally, you've got, let's get self-destruct mode. Let's get so destroyed that reality doesn't even exist, and this is all tomorrow's problems, and it's just let's go there. And if you want to be a high performer, you can't sit in that third zone very often, because the compound effect of alcohol or certain drugs, and I'm not knocking either of them, I think they're both great tools when used appropriately, but when abused, they then create shit decisions. To then create shit outcomes, which then creates more shit decisions, and it's a spiral effect. Like, ever since I took alcohol out, life has become so clear. Like, it's only 14 months, but I just have this clarity, this energy, this focus. It's like,
Love that.
yeah. Whereas when I put it back in, always for 2, 3, 4 days afterwards, it impacts everything. The way that I think, the way that I feel, my ability to concentrate. Yeah.
I'm the exact same. I'm considering, and I am basically sober. I know people are probably laughing. They're like, she never drinks anyways. I don't. But I am considering going sober.
What's stopping you?
Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. And I know how much of a depressant that can be. And I know how I feel the next day after having a drink. Forget the next day, the week, I am just so sad. And I'm like, why has this made me feel like this? And why did I do it to drop a few moves on the dance floor? Kira, get out and dance yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you know? So now I'm at a point where I'm like, I really couldn't think of anything worse. I know that even if I was going out to have a drink, I'd be thinking about how I'm going to feel the next day already. I'm feeling anxious, and I know I'm so happy, I'm so content at the minute that doesn't add value to my life at all, you know. And if you do feel like you're in a position where you're like this as well now, and your friend group are kind of nudging you on to have a drink, like, to be honest, it's more of a them thing. It's probably not you. And if you don't want to have a drink, don't have a drink. You don't need to have a drink to enjoy yourself.
Or if you do, that's actually really sad.
Yeah.
If you have to have alcohol to enjoy yourself, and then there's another thing, like if you have to have alcohol to enjoy the people that are around you, you've probably got the wrong people around you. I used to see this in London all the time. End of work, it's really normal for everyone to go to the pub, and none of you really want to be hanging out with each other, and you're all kind of like locked around these drinks that nobody really wants to be there. And I guess this goes into environment and having the right people around you. And in your environment, I think you need 3 key people in your environment if you want to have a happy, successful, momentous life. Number 1, you need mentors. Mentors that are going to challenge you. They're going to hold up mirrors to your blind spots. They're going to help you avoid mistakes, and they're also going to call you out on your bullshit. Number 2, you need sparring partners. So you need people that are at a similar level of you, similar ambitions, trying to do similar things. You sharpen each other up a little bit. Iron sharpens iron. You don't want to be blunting each other's blade. But at the same time, sometimes you need an arm around the shoulder, like, come on, it's okay. And finally, you need mentees. You need mentees where you can pass on that knowledge, pass on that wisdom. So you're crystallizing everything that you're learning, and you get that inner fulfillment. If you have those 3 in your professional life, oh my God, the fulfillment that will come from that will absolutely fly. Then you look at personal relationships. And personal relationships is something that entrepreneurs and leaders struggle with all the time. They struggle to connect. They often don't feel understood. They often feel that they're in the wrong circles. And I don't believe that all of a sudden, if you're accelerating in life, that you need to cut off all of your old mates and like, I don't talk to them anymore. And, you know, like your network is your net worth, all that nonsense. I have mates where we don't talk about work or business. We talk about boxing because they love to box, and we love to just talk, oh, what do you think about this fight? What do you think about this? Football, I'm a huge Arsenal fan. So talking about other mates where we just talk about the football, we don't talk about work stuff. On the flip side, I have people where we only talk about work or psychology or business, but we won't talk about the other stuff because we don't have those interests. So people often get sad and they think, I've got to leave certain relationships behind. It's not necessarily true. You just need to adjust how you're using those relationships to create those connections with each other. Like, you have to just maneuver those, and that can be really difficult. But if you have that environment where it's normal for everyone to go out and get battered every week, and that's not you, then you're actually doing yourself and them a disservice, because you're not being honest with them, you're not being honest with you. So there's always an incongruence. And the more you can just be honest, upfront, operate with integrity, and be like, look, I'm going to be honest, that's not my thing. This is my thing. I think this is where we can cross paths, but that's not my thing. Otherwise, you're wasting time, and we'll all be dead soon.
For sure. And life is way too short to spend it not happy and not doing what you want to do. Because I think when you look at like the timeline of what you have, and you realise, like, so many people say at events or even podcasts that you listen to, they're like, say for example, they're 40 which is still really young, they're like, you don't realise how fast those 20 years go, and you've only got one life on this planet. Like, live it to the best that you want to live it. Be who you want to be. If you want to go out and if you want to be a dancer, be a dancer. If you want to work in a coffee shop and you love making coffee, be a barista. Like, do what you want to do, because I think that's what makes people very unhappy. They're not being true to who they are. I know people that absolutely hate bodybuilding. They hate it. And deep down, I'm just like, why do you do it? And they're like, well, like, that's what my clientele is. And I'm like, but that's not you. I goes, they're coming for you. They're not coming for your body. They're coming for you. Like, my girls come for me.
Yeah.
They come for us, not just me. They come for the community. They come to be a part of something. They come to feel like they fit in and to learn about their bodies and make this a lifestyle change. They don't come for the way you look.
It's true.
You know?
And you got to you got to have a level of authenticity of, look, this is what I'm about. When I left a high-paying software sales career, I'm going to study to be a therapist. Everyone, what?
Like, what do you mean?
What? Why would you do that? And I was like, I prefer solving those problems than the problems I'm currently solving now. And the problems I solve right now makes lots of money, but I don't give a fuck if Prada sell another 100 handbags this week. I really couldn't give a flying fuck. And that's the software part of it. I sold a number of different softwares, but one of them was a CRM and data analytics platform that did that. And it's like, fucking hell, I really could not care about that problem. Whereas seeing a high performer going, oh, that's the next level of living. That to me lights me up, and I could do that all day long. And it's hard being honest with yourself, because sometimes you perceive letting people down, because it's like, oh, I've got to tell them I'm not doing this anymore. I've got to tell them that I've got to perhaps change what I'm doing. And often the devil that you know feels safer than the devil that you don't.
Yeah, every time I unlock a new level in myself, I feel like I'm just becoming, I just feel like I'm just evolving all the time, because I'm constantly like working on myself, and I'm constantly just moving at such a good pace that it just feels good. I've got momentum going, and not all the time, but majority of the time. And I think leaving people behind is pretty scary. And people don't understand why you're going that deep on yourself. People don't understand why you're working all these hours. And I don't think that you have to explain it to people, but I think you need to be very honest with yourself and very true to who you are. And I'm still working on that. I'm still not, I'm true to who I am. I know who I am. I feel who I am. I'm understanding the way I act because of this, and I get all of that now. But there's still a part of me that is holding myself back, and I can say that hand on heart, even after all the work, the mentors, everything, that I know there's still that little bit there that I can't get rid of. There's just a tiny little mark that it's just it's not fully there yet, and I don't know if it ever will be, but I know that there's still something inside of me that I'm not being true 100%.
Well, I'm going to let you in a little secret.
Yeah.
That feeling almost goes away, and then you evolve, and then you change, and then it comes back. And then it starts to go away, and then you evolve and change, and then it comes back. I still have those moments now where I'm going,
so it's normal.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But people think it's not.
Right.
But like, you're not this. If we look at this table, right, that is a physical thing. It's not changing. It's not evolving. Like, without going too existential, physics, psychedelic for a moment, right? But like, let's actually look at you as a species, right? You've got various different waters going on. You've got organisms in your gut going on. Your hair is always changing. Your skin is always changing. It's evolving. In 28, 29 days, most of what this being is gone. It's changed. It's evolved. You're evolving so much, so quickly. How can you ever figure out who you truly are? Like, it just isn't a realistic goal. Like, we can't. And we also don't know what we're going to experience. So we don't know what experiences that we're going to come up. We're going to experience things that are going to challenge us on our values, on our principles. We're going to go, oh, I've done that, but I don't know if that really was me. I don't think it was. So the goal isn't, I am fully aligned all of the time, 110%, because the chances are you're going too slow.
Yeah.
Or you're playing it too safe. So you're somebody that moves with speed. So on that, just recognize that there's always going to be a part of you where when you are somebody that travels at speed, oh, do I need to evolve this? Or, oh, is that right? Is that right? And learn to become at peace with that and change your relationship with that. We don't need this perfectly aligned human being 24/7. Even if we look at, say, Tony Robbins, for example, he turns up, he has moments where he's like, oh, I'm not really doing this. He probably gets stuck in the scroll from time to time. So it's understanding that if you are going to be ambitious and you're going to travel at speed, that's always going to be there. That's okay. But understanding that's an opportunity, not a bad thing. It's an opportunity. Well, what else can I discover about myself? What else can I discover about my business, about my being? Not, why is that thing still there? So I actively search for that.
Yeah.
I still have mentors in my corner, and I'm like, I've behaved or I've seen this, and I don't feel great about it. Like, what is that about? And let me go and unpack that and explore. Okay, I didn't realize that this value, because our values are always evolving and shifting, this value has become a lot more important at this stage of my life. Cool. All right, I need to evolve that. I need to change that. I need to let go of that. So that little bit that perhaps you're holding on, I'm not 100% there yet. That's a good thing.
Okay.
Because otherwise you've nailed it. And if you nailed it, knowing you, Ciara, you'll be bored.
Yeah, and I do get bored a lot
Yeah.
easily, so I'm always looking for what's next. But there's something else as well. Like, that's what I mean. Like, when I'm like at that kind of wavering point where I'm like, oh, I don't really know what this is. I don't really know where I'm at. There's where you come in again.
Yeah.
You know, like you
That's
tell
what-
me, like, this is normal, Ciara. Like, that's how you're meant to be feeling. And if I was just a line like that, I would be bored.
Yeah, you would be. You'd be like, you'd have that for a week and you'd go, what's next?
Yeah.
And then you'd go make some crazy bets to then go and challenge, oh, have I really done the right thing? Is this going to work out? Is this the good move? Is this a bad move? Oh my God, what am I doing? And you always kind of need that. And when you go into new territories and you're somebody that's not afraid of going into new territories, most people would focus on their coaching. Actually, I'm going to do apparel as well. Boom. Right?
Yeah.
That is going to challenge you and stretch you in so many different ways as an entrepreneur. So you're never going to be operating in 100% alignment. You'll have moments where that happens.
Yeah.
But you got to think, right? Think of you as a being and how much you evolve and change physiologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Well, then there's hundreds of people in your world, your clients, your coaches, your friends, your family. Well, they're all evolving at different speeds as well. So when we have all of this level of change, it can be quite overwhelming to think about. But actually, it's like, well, hang on. I can feel any feeling and do the thing anyway. I can feel the feeling and still go and explore and operate out of abundance and love and growth.
That's what I love.
That's excitement. That's why that feeling that you're chasing sounds like perhaps you might have been chasing a little bit of perfection.
Yeah.
And actually this is an opportunity for you to go, oh, that's a good thing. It means there's more growth to be doing. Because otherwise we get bored.
For sure. Love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what would you say to anybody that's listened to this and they're like, oh, I'm like 98% there about just getting in touch or putting in an application, booking a call with a team, but there's something holding them back. What would you say?
For anyone that is sitting on the fence and going back and forward and weighing out your options, and that's a lot of money that will go into something, you need to stop thinking and start doing. You need to be more proactive and just go for it. And for me, I didn't even think about it because that's just who I am, but this has genuinely changed my life. And as I said, from where I've come from, I've barely touched on my story today, from that tiny little glimpse of getting to know me and how I used to think and how I used to act and how I performed and how my whole life has just evolved. If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you just need a little bit of someone to talk to or to get whatever you feel like is holding you back off your chest and become a better person overall, you need to do it.
What would you say the biggest outcomes for you have been if you look back?
I think one, self-doubt, that's gone. That's like, I am like, don't care, I can do it, and I believe in myself, and I truly do believe that this is just a stepping stone for me. And I think in a couple of years down the line, if there is a make it, when I make it, I'm gonna look back and say that this was the star, the golden star on the top of my life of what I needed. You know, this was it. And another thing that I would say is, so self-doubt was one. What was the question again?
It was what the outcomes for you that have, and maybe if we put them into boxes, on a personal level, what are some of the outcomes? On a professional level, what's some of the outcomes? And then maybe on a business level as well, if you just put them in those three.
Okay, so professional level, I think it's my team, being a true leader, knowing how to handle situations, understanding how to speak into people. I'm looking at like all the other things that have happened in my life, but we have also touched on a lot of leadership things that was amazing, and that has really helped. I think on a personal level, not being that perfectionist and looking for what my mum and dad never had, which was perfection, and this happy marriage life. And for me, I used to watch these stories and always think about the happy ending, and sometimes that's not true. And I think the happier you are and the more present you are with yourself, I think you're unstoppable when you really kind of know who you are as a person. So I think that would be my two.
Amazing. Well, look, Ciara, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know that was going to help a hell of a lot of people. We're always rooting for you. But internally, it was, Ciara, our superstar, what's she up to? She's doing this, she's doing this, she's doing this. So, yeah, you're doing incredible things, incredibly inspiring. So keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, and where can everyone find you?
So you can find me on Ciara_Rossi on my personal page. I also have a YouTube channel as well. And you can also find me on www.fitcoachrossi.ie. And you'll find everything on my Instagram anyways. But thank you so much for having me. Thanks for changing my life. Thanks for having a performance like this and an area where people can come, and a community that not a lot of people have, or not a lot of things in the world kind of have. So it's just amazing what you're doing, and I couldn't recommend it enough. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ciara.